Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you missed Shaquille O'Neal roasting the modern-day Lakers. It's been only 2 months since the last time we've heard from him, and he's back. So before we get to the content, I'm just letting you guys know and reminding y'all that we're giving away a PlayStation 5 on this channel to somebody that subscribes and turns on their notifications for this channel. Whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber, so long as you have done it, then you have entered for a chance to win a PlayStation 5. On top of that, if you want an additional entry, sub and turn on our notifications for TheFlightMike TV, our gaming channel where we do career simulations, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro.
Everybody out there, don't ever give up on your dreams. You can fucking do it. I swear, just keep fighting. I swear to God, don't ever give up on yourself, man.
This clip was taken 2 months ago when the Los Angeles Lakers were able to win the NBA Finals in by far one of the most tumultuous seasons in NBA history. And if you understand the adversity Dwight Howard has gone throughout his career, the amount he had to grow as an individual, as a person, and as a teammate in order to get to this point, the amount of pride that he had to give up in order to come off of the bench, despite being one of the faces of the NBA a mere 7 years prior, which I know sounds like a very long time ago, but you have to understand he should have had a much longer prime than he did. But due to the NBA shifting away from his style of play and the traditional big man, he had to see his role get reduced tremendously in order to put himself in this situation to finally win a championship. So it's extremely understandable that Dwight Howard would convey this amount of emotion after he finally won what has been eluding him his entire career. He could finally continue on with his career knowing that he has finally won a NBA championship. Something that Shaquille O'Neal has always dissed him for, by the way. The fact that he has never been able to win it all, and he finally has done that. And despite that situation, Shaquille O'Neal still had this to say about him.
You know what I don't like as a player, though?
What's that?
So a lot of players on their little Instagram bragging like they were the reason they got the championship. I ain't gonna say no names.
There was a lot of that going on.
I ain't gonna say no names.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Sit your ass down. You didn't do nothing. Stop it.
But I already know who you're talking about.
You know it too.
I know you know who I'm talking about. Stop it.
There
Front runner.
By the way,
bandwagon jumper. Stop it. Stop it. Don't be talking to me like you know players. Sit your ass down.
By the way,
Stop it.
Lakers front office.
Post one pick and sit your ass down.
By the way, Lakers front office.
Follow your dreams, and I can't believe shut your ass up. You ain't
Stop
do
it.
nothing. You ain't do nothing.
Seriously.
Oh, wait a minute now.
Now, I know there's going to be a portion of individuals that don't know who I am as a person, don't know where I stand in the spectrum of NBA fandom. So a little bit about me. My first team, my first era, the team that brought me to basketball as a mere 7-year-old boy was the young 2000 to 2001 Los Angeles Lakers that featured Kobe and Shaq. So by no means am I biased towards the current day Lakers. As a matter of fact, I kind of feel awkward when I see the new jerseys in comparison to the old jerseys that we used to rock back when Kobe and Shaq, and Kobe and Pau later on, were members of the Los Angeles Lakers. Nevertheless, I've been a Los Angeles Lakers fan for about 2 decades, and I'm giving you my unbiased opinion on everything in this video. Because if I was biased, I would automatically take Shaq's side because, well, Dwight Howard did do our buddy, our late friend, Kobe Bryant an injustice in the earlier part of this decade. But nevertheless, saying that a player is a front runner when you spent the latter part of your career trying to chase championship number 4, his 4th championship without you, which by the way, Shaq did do that. He went and signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers to attempt to chase a championship with LeBron James, which by the way, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time were coming off of a season where they lost to Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the philosophy here was very simple. If we bring in an old Shaquille O'Neal to potentially match up with Dwight Howard, hey, maybe we'll be able to make it to the NBA Finals. Once that failed, he decided to join a different Eastern Conference contender, the Boston Celtics. So calling Dwight Howard a frontrunner makes Shaq sound like a bit of a hypocrite in my opinion. But it gets way worse because he's just roasting a role player of the Los Angeles Lakers here. Today, Shaq went in deep on the Los Angeles Lakers and brought up the core of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So I'm going to do my best to give Shaq as much benefit of the doubt as we jump into this, because I feel like the opening of what he says here isn't necessarily so bad. It's the latter part of what he says here that kind of confuses me. So he starts out by complimenting LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the Los Angeles Lakers' 17th NBA championship, saying after all that we went through in 2020, it was a good ending for them to win the championship. I'm sure if Kobe Bryant was still here, he would definitely be proud and showing his love and support on social media. Now, as I reread this, at first I didn't think this was that big of a deal, and maybe I'm nitpicking over here, but I felt like it was important to show you the difference between Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. Because you see, when Shaq refers to the championship roster of the Los Angeles Lakers, he calls the Lakers them. He doesn't include himself as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers family. When you look at what Kobe Bryant said and how he accepted LeBron James after LeBron James passed him in scoring, look at this excerpt here. To represent me and the Mamba mentality and what we've done, it's about purple and gold. I bleed purple and gold. We all need to bleed purple and gold. It's about the Lakers organization and all that embodies. It's not about individual players. When LeBron came to Los Angeles, he is now a Laker. He is a part of our brotherhood, part of our fraternity, and we should embrace him that way. Just felt like it was very important to compare and contrast Kobe Bryant's philosophy towards the Lakers and Shaq's philosophy towards the Lakers. Shaq seems to be a little bit more competitive, whereas Kobe Bryant just wants the Laker brand to succeed as much as he can. But Shaq didn't end there. He then continued and said, there will never be another Kobe and Shaq. We don't need them to catch up to us. Kobe and myself were not trying to catch Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kobe and I, our legacy will never be duplicated or imitated. We don't want to get into the situation where they can be the next us, because there will never be a next us. Magic and Kareem can never be us. We can never be Magic and Kareem. And we can never be LeBron and AD. Which in the beginning, I kind of agree, although I think it's a little strange to immediately jump into comparing what Kobe and Shaq did to what LeBron James and Anthony Davis did. I think it's a little bit out of context as well, because he immediately gets to the point where he starts by saying he's happy that the Lakers won a 17th championship, but then he goes to saying, hey, don't compare them to us, automatically trying to get competitive with the current Lakers and the previous generation's Lakers. And to be honest, I kind of could sympathize with that, I guess, sort of. I think it's a little strange, to be honest, but I understand what Shaq's saying. Of course, you can never imitate the previous generation superstars. As a matter of fact, as the NBA shifts towards a different style of play, it's very hard to find a unique superstar with that set skill set. And the way Kobe and Shaq dominated opposing defenses is way different than the way LeBron James and Anthony Davis dominate opposing teams as well. As a matter of fact, the offense that the Lakers used in the Kobe Shaq era wouldn't work in the modern day NBA, the triangle offense. But here's where it gets a little weird. And this is where I'm just scratching my head because I don't know how we get here. And I feel like this is a slight at Anthony Davis. Because when Shaq was asked what will Anthony Davis face now as a dominant big man defending his first championship, instead of giving Anthony Davis advice, he went out and said this: well, I hate when you all put power forwards and big men in the same category. You should talk to Tim Duncan, because power forwards and big men are two different categories, period. But I wish him well. My thing is just stay hungry. Why win one when you can win 2, 3, or 4? I don't understand why he had to go the extra mile to take a slight at Anthony Davis and say he's not necessarily a big man, because if you ask me, Shaq's traditional center, traditional style of big man in today's NBA for now is extinct. There's not a single team in the NBA that's building around a traditional post-up big man the way they would build around Shaq during his heyday. NBA. I think the closest thing we have to that is maybe Joel Embiid on the Philadelphia 76ers. But if you ask me, the 76ers aren't necessarily trying to build around Joel Embiid. They're more trying to build around Ben Simmons. So why go out of your way to say Anthony Davis isn't a traditional big man? Why take an opportunity to slight the modern day Lakers at all? And then he brings up Tim Duncan, right? Which, with all due respect to Shaq, and I'm saying this as a Laker fan, Tim Duncan has had a significantly better career than Shaq has ever had. You see, Tim Duncan won the NBA championship 5 times. He won the NBA Finals MVP 3 times, and he won the NBA MVP 2 times. He made it to the All-Star game 15 times and is a 10-time All-NBA first-team player. I guess this is like Shaq trying to flex that he's bigger than Anthony Davis, but I guess he's also trying to put himself in his own league because his type of player doesn't really succeed in the NBA as well as it used to back in his heyday. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think about Shaq's comments. Do you think he's just trying to separate him and put himself on a pedestal once again? Do you think that his words are being twisted out of context? Because he has a history of saying some negative things about the championship Lakers squad, but I don't want to potentially be mixing up his words or taking it out of context. I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.